All right, listeners, here we go. The question was this: is emerging adulthood primarily middle class, upper middle class phenomena?
Yeah, that's a great question. There is an ideal type emerging adult life, and to live that life, one has to have money, either be in college or be able to be free to hang out. In other words, to not be working all the time or impoverished. So the ideal type emerging adult life is a upper middle class phenomenon, but the culture of emerging adulthood is everywhere, so that even people who come from poor backgrounds, that's their ideal. That's what they would like to live. That's what they're shooting for. And so, in a sense, it applies to everybody, even if not everybody can afford it, if you know what I mean.
So are boomers spending their Social Security, which is drastically shrinking, supporting their emerging adulthood, the emerging adult that's living in their basement playing video games? Are they using their shrinking Social Security to pay for that lifestyle, or how is that
They're
working?
only using some of their money. I mean, it doesn't. Right. A lot of times the money that parents supply to their emerging adults is sort of tide them over money, or cover past debts money, or they're not sort of paying them salaries for the most part. But it certainly is the case that adults are not just taking care of themselves and letting their kids sink or swim.
Right. Is Europe experiencing, or is this a very American thing? Is this, are European...
emerging adulthood is pretty common in any post-industrial society. Okay. So it would, it's evident any place where, there's prosperity, basically. Okay. So Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and then among elites in Japan, even elites in China, maybe not the whole culture, but see, the world media is internationalized, and so a wealthy young person in Beijing knows what's happening in Manhattan, and they want to live like that.
Right. So the socioeconomic kind of tie that's to it, wherever that is replicated around the world, that's where it's happening, and then that's what we're aspiring to do.
Yes, exactly. But the other way to say that is, in a poor pre-industrial or industrial economy, 20-year-olds are not doing what I've talked about here.
Right.
They're working, maybe they go to the bars, but for the most part, they have different responsibilities and focuses.
Now, you talk about Europe. I know in England, somebody could go and get really as many bachelor's degrees as they wanted to in the past, and recently there were riots because they're cutting back on that funding.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because of some of this phenomenon that people are trying to prolong that moving into adulthood, and they're just keep staying in school, and now they're...
Yeah, I mean, in general, Europe has had a stronger welfare states, not as much in England as some other places, but so there's a sense of expectation and entitlement that this is what I'm going to have, and as governments have hit fiscal crises, they've had to cut back, and that makes people upset. I spent some time in England, and some of the houses they're not organized in dorms, but the older universities are in like houses.
Right.
Their whole basements are bars, and literally the faculty of those houses spend every other night drinking lots with the students.
Wow.
It's just a different culture.
Wow.
Changing course a little bit. You said that teens who are made fun of are more likely to stick with their faith. Are we talking about positive aspects of persecution? Does persecution help build community?
It may not be positive. It may be perverse, actually. But all we know is we asked teenagers, how often are you made fun of for your religious faith? And they gave us answers. And I think in most cases, that's an evangelical or Mormon kid who's sort of out there. They carry a Bible. They have Jesus patches on their backpacks. And maybe they even act inappropriately, and other kids really give it to them. Right. But the fact that they're being persecuted means they're already committed enough to be willing to be.
Right.
And so that tells you something.
Yeah.
But it's a long-known sociological mechanism that when somebody has to pay the price for something, if they don't bag out of it, it comes to mean more to them.
Right. Yeah. Final question here, Christian. Does evangelicalism's emphasis on an individual response to the gospel ultimately undermine aspects of community?
Sure, absolutely. And in the conclusion of Souls in Transition, I talk about a lot of the sort of the cultural tracks that evangelicalism has laid down for a long time about sort of inner subjectivity through revivalism, through pietism, sort of individual response to God. You have to have a personal experience, which stated correctly theologically may be true, but all you have to do is step 1/2 a foot to the right of that, and you have this sort of subjectivistic, individualistic, self-authorized. Christianity is all about me and my subjective experience.
Yeah. Listen, is there a place? Do you have a website, a blog that we could direct our listeners to?
The project website, which I have to confess is somewhat out of date, but it's youthandreligion.org. One word, youthandreligion.org.
All right, we'll put that up.
And then any of the products, books, and so on, of which there are many, not even just what I've written, you can look up on Amazon.
All right, and for many of our viewers that watch our show, this is the Christian Smith I continue to refer to in terms of the book Divided by Faith. Christian, that book rocked my world. I've had a chance to talk to Michael Emerson. I think I'm going to fly out to Houston and spend actually a weekend at his church there, and then on Monday talk a little bit, stay over for the weekend. But love that book and the research you guys have done, and I'm hoping that it's going to help us with issues of race in the church.
It's very gratifying as a social scientist to be able to do research that actually connects with people in the real world.
Yeah, and it does very much. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Lord bless.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Sure.